Alright, and we're back, and it's about time to get started setting up our condo association app on Odoo. And the first thing I want to do is I want to bind my domain name to my Odoo installation. I've set up Odoo on Google Cloud through Bitnami, so I have my IP address right here. And you'll notice that if I click on it and I go to the Odoo installation, it brings me up to the HTTP, that's the insecure URL. And I wouldn't want to log in here. These are going to be unencrypted and passed over. We're going to update them later anyway, but I want to show you the proper way of doing it first. So we're going to set up our IP address with our domain name, and we're going to set up a CNAME so that the www also resolves to our main domain name. So all I have to do is I have to head over to Google Domains where I registered my domain at, and click on the left sidebar here at DNS, and over here at Manage Custom Records, and we'll be able to update our records here. And you'll notice that I leave the first field blank because that represents our @ field for lakewoodcommunity.info. And I have our type as an A record, and that's going to point to our IP address for the server. Now on the following field, this is a CNAME entry, and you just enter the www, and it will be equivalent to www.lakewoodcommunity.info. Oh, and I put the wrong C record over there. This is actually going to want to be this over here. So I actually needed to come over here and fix something. So that was good. So I did the www record, and that is going to resolve to the non-dub. Dub. So let's go and save that. So great. Now in most situations you might have to wait for it to propagate. The time to live is basically the refresh rate of the DNS that we can expect. 10 minutes is kind of the norm now. I wouldn't really need to have that set at 10 minutes for the remainder of development on this app, since I don't plan on changing these records. But once that finally does propagate, then we can head over to this domain name, and now I can access my app at lakewoodcommunity.info/web/login. And what we're going to notice here is now we have the domain name, but it's still insecure. And what do we have to do? We have to add a Let's Encrypt security certificate. And Let's Encrypt is basically become the encrypt the web standard, and it allows us to generate SSL certificates for free on our server that are recognized by a central authority. And Bitnami, when we launch on Google Cloud, gives us some utilities to do that within the SSH console. So actually, if we head over to the Bitnami Odoo page and we go to click on documentation, we can go to create an SSL certificate. And here's the catch. So if you go and you click on this, actually you're going to create an SSL certificate for Apache, but there's a much easier way to do this. We can actually log into the server, the Bitnami server, and they have some tools that are already set up for this too. So let's go and click this, and we get how to auto configure a Let's Encrypt certificate. And really what we come down to is a guided tour basically of setting it up through this bncert tool. So if we log into our SSH console, we'll be able to run this command and start to set up our domain name security certificate. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to head back over to my Bitnami virtual machine, and I'm going to launch my SSH console from here. Now, if you log into the Google Cloud platform, I do want to connect. If you log into the Google Cloud platform, you can also access SSH via that through the VM instances through the compute engine VM instances, and select your VM. And I will actually show you how to do that right now. Let's go and, all right, I want to make sure I have my right project selected. And I don't want to be in Cloud Functions. What I want to do is go over here to Compute Engine and then go over to VM Instances. And there's my VM instance running. Now, if I hit SSH here, it's going to connect me through the same tunnel here. All right, so I'm already logged in. We can go back over to the tool here and copy. Now, basically, it's just going to ask us what domain names that we want to secure for this IP address and for this server specifically. And I am going to type my domain name. And so it's asking me for a valid space-separated list of domains for which you wish to configure your web server. And that's what we typed in there. I want to make sure you didn't spell anything wrong, so the following domains were not included. Do you want to add them? You know what? I'm going to hit Control-C because I incorrectly typed the extension of the domain that I want to secure. So I'm going to rerun the tool. Luckily, no harm, no foul. Now I want to secure the Lakewood community.info, and we want the www, which is Lakewood community.info. Now that should be correct. Do we want to enable HTTP to HTTPS redirection? Now nearly every time that is going to be a yes. Do we want non-www to www redirection? No, we don't want that. We want to redirect www to non-www. So I'm going to hit no here. Now enable www to non-www, and I'm going to hit yes here. It's going to tell me that it's going to change some settings for me, and it's going to give me the opportunity to say yes or no to these changes right now. And ideally what it's going to do is it's going to stop the Apache web server. It's going to configure the server to use a Let's Encrypt certificate for the domains that I just specified in the list. It's going to try, and I'm going to emphasize try, it doesn't always accomplish this depending on some of the settings that you're deploying on. And well, if it's a stable release of the Bitnami tool, I've had issues with it in the past, but hopefully you won't. And it's going to try to configure a cron job to automatically renew the certificates each month. So ideally, what the system will do is say, okay, I need to get a new certificate every month, sometimes every 3 months, 90 days, and it's going to do that automatically. Now that's the ideal situation. If it doesn't do that automatically, we're going to have to go in and do it ourselves, and then schedule the cron job manually until we get a setting that works. So it's also going to configure the web server to use lakewoodcommunity.info, and it's going to redirect any of the insecure traffic to the secure URL, and it gives you some examples of HTTP lakewoodcommunity.info to https.lakewoodcommunity.info. It's also going to redirect all the www to non-www. Gives us an example of that. And then once all that's been applied, assuming everything went well and it doesn't have to roll back any changes, it's going to start the web server again. So let's see if that all works by clicking Y and enter. Now it wants me to enter my email address for this, and this is going to be lakewood@discoursedigital.com, and I'm going to have to spell things more accurately. Okay, discoursedigital.com. And it looks like we're all set. I don't think I have any spelling errors again. And we're going to agree to the subscriber agreement, which you can review with the URL above. And if you press Control, I can click on this link to bring up the document. Now I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that it's installing the HTTPS certificate correctly, and hopefully it configures the auto renewal, so this will be the last time that I have to do it. It's worth noting that the Apache configurations for multiple websites serving from the same Odoo instance are not accounted for in the BN cert tool. So this wouldn't handle any situations where you need multiple certificates for different organizations. Maybe you need corporate SSL certificates or enterprise certificates for identity verification. This is not the way to do it. This is a quick and easy way to get your security certificate up for something like a condo association. So there are other ways, and this is a quick and free way to do it through Bitnami. And it's also a great way for developers to secure their apps during development without incurring the overhead. Now, it's told me that the configuration report is shown below, and basically what it did, it went and created some backup files that we can find on the server now at the locations listed below. It's also produced a log file for this particular update, and it appears to have successfully implemented auto renewal. So next month when the certificate expires, it will automatically renew at the time that the old certificate expires, and we don't have to worry about that again. So this is basically the last time that we have to do this, and next time, on the next video, we'll basically see how to log in through our domain name, through HTTPS, which we're going to look at in a minute. So join me back here. We'll come back and look at how to access our app. All right, we're back. And now I have my domain name registered. I have my domain pointed to an IP address. I have my CNAME entry. I have my SSL certificate installed, and I'm looking great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to this IP address, or I'm sorry, IP address to this domain, and I'm going to notice that the lakewoodcommunity.info secure seal is now available there, and the connection is secure. And I see the certificate is valid. I can get the certificate information. And there we go. Everything that we just did was successful. And we can launch the application. Now your Bitnami application window will have the user@example.com login. We're going to want to change our domain name and other settings in here once we log in. But it's also going to give us a password, whoops, a password, which I just showed you and copied because we're going to change it. Shh, it's not a security violation. All right. So now I can log into my instance. All right, great. So we've logged into our Odoo application, and we are ready to install some apps that we might need in our community association app.